Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Soymilk and welcome to the channel. Now, today we're going to be reacting to xtimus's video on why Diablo 2 players hate Diablo 4. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because Diablo 2, well, I've been playing Diablo 2 for quite some time. I've been playing it since I was a teenager, and now I'm basically in my 30s. So, damn, time goes by fast. Yeah, so Diablo 2, big game for me. I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4 now recently, and I want you guys to keep in mind that xtimus's video right now was done before the actual release of the game, so this is just beta testing stuff. So the video's been out for a while, but let's get into it and give my own opinion on it too. So let's get to it.
Diablo 4 is now a spin-off version of Diablo 3, Path of Exile, and World of Warcraft. The RNG random number generator game mechanics that made Diablo 2 the greatest game of all time through randomized loot, dungeons, monster spawns, and even skill damage ability gave you a new experience every time you logged on to the game and has given the player base infinite replay value for 20 years. Diablo 4 has now evolved into a repetitive gameplay style that gives you the same experience over and over. That is less rewarding and is for the casual player base and MMORPG based game mechanics.
I just want to add to this. I don't know if he's going to change his opinion on that, but Diablo 4 has a lot of random stuff in it. If I could give a very good example, if for those of you guys that play Diablo 2, let's look at doing, like, let's say you do the catacombs, right? You're doing catacombs, you're going all the way to Andariel, bro. The monsters in catacombs level 2, 3, and the 4th level are all going to be the exact same monsters, right? There's going to be the fallen, the shamans, the afflicted, there's the spiders in the 2nd floor, and yeah, basically the monsters the monster types stay exactly the same. You're not going to see a random monster that doesn't belong there, ever. The only exception is sometimes when you change difficulty, sometimes they'll add a monster or take away a monster, but even then, that's pretty damn rare. As terms of how randomized those monsters are within the levels in Diablo 2, well, it's the same thing as Diablo 4. You have the same monster types within the dungeon. Example, Diablo 4, you'll be doing a dungeon. It'll be the same monster types within that dungeon. But the elite monsters will be different. They'll spawn in different places. They will have different abilities, different stats, and different combinations. And yeah, that's exactly the same thing with Diablo 2. Basically, the monsters are sprinkled throughout the whole levels, and they'll have different, like, elite packs will be in different spots. Yeah, so the monsters are about the same, but let's see what else he says about RNG stuff.
Now, I've been considered one of the most controversial Diablo 2 content creators for my critical opinions, and somewhat of an outcast because of them. 98% of Diablo-specific content creators are partnered with Blizzard.
Sorry for my
this
face
is
here.
Probably why you have never seen me use the hashtag DiabloPartner.
It's gonna move myself down.
I've always expressed myself to the fullest and never tried to gain the approval of everybody, which is an impossible task when fully being yourself. The game is my love and passion, though. I will be as old as Decker King going on a rant about game mechanics and just my overall love for the game. All of my opinions come from
about him and the partners. I know most of these guys from watching them. I don't actually know them, but, like, for example, Cooley will definitely speak his mind if you know his channel. If you don't, go check it out. He does really good PvP stuff. Even Mr. Llama, which is probably the biggest one for Diablo 2. Yeah, no, maybe this was pre-beta, but I mean, like, obviously he's not a slave to Blizzard. He doesn't play Diablo 4 anymore because he doesn't like it. He finds it boring. He's waiting for things to change. He's publicly said his opinions on it, and there's a lot of negative. Some positive, but there's a lot more negative than there is positive. And yeah, like, the case could almost be said with everyone here. Yeah, no, I don't agree with that completely, especially just Cooley and Mr. Llama. I've heard their opinions on the game a bunch of times, and
no, I will
it's not
be
what
as
you
old
think.
as Decker King going on a rant about game mechanics and just my overall love for the game. All of my opinions come from a place of love, and I want Diablo to be in the spotlight like it should have been for the past 20 years. So let's talk about how the Diablo 4 game mechanics work. I will explain to you how Diablo 4 has now evolved into a repetitive experience from a Diablo 2 player perspective, explaining the core game mechanics that are important to understand for the long-term success of Diablo 4 or any Diablo game. Diablo's unique gameplay style and replay value is possible through the term RNG, the random number generator. This was the main core revolutionary game mechanic of Diablo 2. This core value has...
They had it in Diablo 1, I'm pretty sure. I think, right? Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, yeah, you had different items dropping. There's a bunch of RNG mechanics in a bunch of games. Diablo 1 definitely had it. Diablo 2 definitely improved on it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of there's other games, other PC games that were like that. I mostly played a lot of like console games at that age before Diablo 1. You know, like Super Mario and stuff like that, but I mean RNG even exists in like the older Final Fantasies in a way, right? Like your damage, you would have your crits and all that, and it's still technically a way of RNG. But yeah,
it's been exiled from the Diablo franchise since the release of Diablo 3, and now abandoned by Diablo 4. Now, you may have asked yourself, what is it? What is it about Diablo 2 that made that game the greatest game of all time? Why did I spend 20 years playing this game and not others? With my studies of quantum physics and my spiritual journey, I realized 95% of our brain's thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, perceptions, and more function like an automatic, unconscious computer program. Your perceptions of the real world and the gaming world are a set of unconscious programs. This theory, along with the misunderstanding of Diablo's core game mechanics, were the real reason why you had these beliefs about Diablo 2 being the greatest game of all time, which I will explain in further detail later on. Chris Wilson, the creator of Path of Exile, studied these theories as well about Diablo 2 when he was creating Path of Exile. Chris knew Diablo 2 was the greatest game of all time, and he studied the game to its core. Every time you log on to Diablo 2...
That's why Path of Exile is a lot more like Diablo 2 than Diablo 3 is to Diablo 2. Like Path of Exile is more like Diablo 2 than Diablo 3 is like Diablo 2. There's a lot in common with Path of Exile and Diablo 2, and you could really tell. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this is true, but I remember when Path of Exile was first coming out, when it was like in the early stages, I remember watching Crip, and I remember somewhere it came up that Path of Exile came out because Diablo 3 was not like the sequel of Diablo 2. Like, it didn't feel like the spiritual successor. Not saying that the game is awful. There's a lot of things that it does good and does wrong for Diablo 3, but it's not like Diablo 2. Path of Exile 1 is a lot like Diablo 2 compared.
You have a new experience because of the RNG mechanics. Every moment is different. It is impossible to have the same experience you had before every time you log on to the game. When you enter the world, the dungeons are randomized, along with the types of monsters that spawn, the loot that drops, the map layouts.
The monsters that spawn, no, because the monsters that spawn are going to be like, the types of monsters will always be the same. Like I said before, the placements will be different, but they're not going to be like, not going to find different monsters in the area. It's a lot like in Diablo 4. It's the exact same thing. The same monsters in the same dungeons, just sprinkled throughout the level a little bit differently, with different elite packs having different abilities. Same thing.
And even your skill damage ability. Now, when you play Diablo 2, as I said, 95% of your perceptions of the world are unconscious. You unconsciously never knew exactly why Diablo 2 was the greatest game of all time, and these core game mechanics pass right by your awareness. This concept of the Diablo world had you constantly addicted to the rush of wanting new experiences. You just never realized it this whole time. The loot being randomized gave you a sense of overwhelming accomplishment when you found something like such as a high rune. This extreme rarity.
I'm gonna go back to the rune part. Okay, Diablo 4, we're talking about loot, right? Diablo 4, what I think, okay, as far as the RNG of the loot goes, I mean, the legendary aspects they drop a lot because legendary gear drops a lot because you need to get the pieces to make your gear. Uniques drop less often, and they're more like a reward. After playing for a long time, you find a good unique, except for, like, you know, Harlequin Crescendo in Diablo 4 is almost impossible. Now, what I do like about the only reason why the jaw rune is fun to see in this video, if you play Diablo 2, is because the game has trading. If you're not going to use that jaw rune, it's basically like money that you could trade. It's the same thing as in Path of Exile. You have your divine arms and you have your chaos orbs. This is the same idea. Those are trading pieces. Diablo 4 does not have that, and I really think that's what it needs. Trading needs to be more open. Maybe he'll mention trading a little bit later on. If not, I'm going to go back to it because I do have more to say about that.
Combined with the reward of extreme power left the player feeling like they were truly rewarded for their effort. The reason why Diablo 2 players won't like Diablo 4 is because it doesn't have these core game mechanics of the RNG. In Diablo 4, the world is almost always the same with no RNG. The dungeons are the same repetitive experience over and over again. Fetch a key, run to the left, run to the right, and open a door. The monster.
Okay. Yeah, so I agree with what you're saying, that Diablo 4 is very repetitive, especially for like the having to get like a piece of whatever and then bring it to the door and open the door, having to kill all the monsters. I do think they could tone it down, maybe killing 80% of all the monsters instead of 100% of all the monsters to get rid of the fog door would be a big difference. Maybe instead, you know, just lower the amounts. And let's say someone, so maybe it would only take like, I don't know, 80% for you to be able to go through the door. And if you do get 100%, maybe there should be a chest at the end of that fog door. Maybe that would be a good idea. I'm not too sure, but that's what I think about it. Saying that Diablo 2 is not repetitive is absolutely crazy. Like, if you've seen the majority of Diablo 2 videos right now, it's all loot run videos, and doing Andariel like 1,000 times is not, how do you say it's not repetitive? Like, you're literally going, killing the bosses, the same exact bosses over and over again. And yes, everything, like the maps are made in layouts. So if you know how the maps work in Diablo 2, you'll eventually figure out that they are pretty much exactly the same. Example, you're doing the catacombs, right? You're gonna kill Andariel. When you hit the waypoint to go to level 2, you're always gonna go to the right of the exit. If you do that, you're always gonna find it. And it's just, it's like, it's tile sets, right? That's exactly what it is. It's tile sets that connect together to make the level, and everything in between is a little bit random. Here in Diablo 4, example, if you take Champion's Demise, you have the middle area where you have to get the 3 little whatever pieces, the tablets, to bring together to open the final door to the boss. You go to the same general directions. You go to the bottom right, it opens up, right? So it opens up, and then like a bunch of parts, just like there's like little sections, right, that have like events, and one of them has the tablet for you to bring, which I'm pretty sure that the tablet will always be in a different square at the end. So it kind of follows the same rules of a tile set, because in between it's a little bit randomized. I mean, if you look at Catacombs level 4, Fandariel is the exact same map. Mephisto's room is the exact same map. Chaos Sanctuary is exactly the same. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, look at Tristram. Tristram's always the same as it should be because it's Tristram, but yeah.
Spawns are somewhat
yes and no.
randomized, however, mostly the same. So now let's talk about soulbound items, no trading, and the itemization. So
let's see what he has to say.
98% of the item drops are for your class and gives you no sense of accomplishment. This term is called personal loot, the same repetitive experience. This is a spin-off concept from World of Warcraft instance loot, where the loot drops are mostly the same from bosses and become soulbound. This has removed the idea of item drops being unique, special, and rewarding. This is to appeal to the casual players. Also the World of Warcraft player base because it has a massive following.
The way the trading system is right now in Diablo 4 needs to be improved. I 100% agree on that. The way I would do it personally is leave the legendary aspects, like the legendaries, alone. Those, don't make them tradable, make them drop as often as they do, because we need those to be able to make our builds, right? Could you imagine if everything was tradable right now? There would be so much, like, there would be so many legendary aspects that it would be a little too much because they drop so often. So what do they have to do? Well, then they have to lower the drop chances. Lowering the drop chances, legendary aspects are so tied to your build that you can't do like a build at all if you don't have legendary aspects. It just doesn't work. What I do think they should have is uniques should be tradable. I don't know if they are. I didn't look into it. But if they're not tradable, they should definitely be tradable. And yellows too. Those being tradable would be actually really good. Because let's just say, okay, right now I'm playing a druid, and my main item that I'm trying to find is a Tempest Roar, right? If I find the Tempest Roar once, great. I win. I'm happy. I find it a second time with a little bit lower stats. Well, now it's just complete trash. I'm just going to throw it away. I'm just going to salvage it. I'm going to sell it. But if there was trading, then I could trade it for something else. You know, that's how I see it. Just imagine in the odd chance that I find a Shaco, let's just say, right, in Diablo 4. Now, just for you guys to know, Shaco is so rare that it's, from what I've heard, the numbers are kind of hard to guess, but it's literally like finding 2 Tyrael's Mites in Diablo 2. I have never found a Tyrael's Mite in my life, and I probably never will. You're telling me that a Shaco is twice as like more than twice as rare as that? That's absolutely insane. But just imagine that one person in the world, right, that somehow gets 2 Shacos. What are you going to do with the other one? You can't even trade it. You can't even trade it for like a grandfather or something. You're stuck with it. Obviously, you're not going to salvage it or sell it because it's like, it's a Shaco, right? You're going to keep it in your inventory, but it's completely useless. What's the point? That's why I think trading should be on uniques, because they're a little bit rarer and they're like that right range, because Diablo 2 was designed for trading to begin with. That's why high runes are hard to find. And some uniques are hard to find too. When you find a Jaw rune, you're excited because you can trade it. But if there was no trading and you got a Jaw rune, well, who gives a shit?
And they like the concept of instance loot. They don't like RNG based item drops. This gets them interested in the game and makes Blizzard more money from a wider audience. Also, the loot drops were increased for the beta. However, I still think Blizzard is going to have legendaries dropping like Rao runes, just to benefit the casual player base.
Legendaries, yes,
and
uniques
also
now.
For casual players who don't play the game at an end game level. So, soulbound items and no trading. Have you ever heard any player say, I don't like trading? I don't want trading in Diablo 4. Never.
People do
Let's
solo
say you find
self
a
founds.
Zod rune, the rarest rune in the entire game of Diablo 2 that is for a build like a barbarian, and you found it on a sorceress, so now it has no use to you. If this was Diablo 4, you couldn't trade.
Yeah, exactly. That just proves my point. But I will say that people do like playing solo self found a lot. That's why Path of Exile does it. A lot of people even impose it on themselves. People were even saying people are doing solo self on Diablo 4, solo self on Diablo 2. It's like, well, that's pretty much single player, but yeah, it's some people like it, but having it open I think is an advantage for sure.
One of the rarest items in the game, and you now have to just salvage it. Even though item drops are class based, what if it's not for your build? Will this happen in Diablo 4? Most likely. This theory isn't absolute because we haven't experienced endgame. So why does Blizzard want no trading when 98% of the Diablo community wants trading? There are many theories to this.
They should open it.
Blizzard thinks this will fix real money trading. However, there will always be
real money trading. I just want to say one quick thing about it. Let's keep the video going. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Like, who really cares? I just, if I'm playing Path of Exile or something and I need to buy something, I'll just like buy something, not with my money, but I'll like trade something for it. Other people that buy shit, who cares? Does it really affect you? Does it really bother you? You're pretty much playing by yourself anyways, right? So why should you care? I mean, if anything, it's gonna bring down the prices. Yeah, I wouldn't look. I would like. I know Blizzard doesn't like it. I get it for obvious reasons, but as a player, don't let this bother you so much. It's not your problem. It's really not. Let Blizzard take care of it. It shouldn't affect you in any way. It kind of does affect you in this because this is probably one of the reasons why there's not that much trading, but I think it's because they don't have the system design yet for it, and they don't know what to do with trading. I mean, don't let this bother you guys. Just enjoy the game. Like, who cares if people sell shit? Just play the game as the way you want to.
Real money trading when trading is available in any kind of form. There's no fixed RMT unless the game is completely solo self-found. Blizzard wants you to actually find the items yourself to complete your character. In other words, they just want you to be solo self-found. This restricts the player from having the freedom to make their own choices. Instead, they should just have a self-found league like Path of Exile.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea.
The player base to be solo self-found.
Yeah.
Another theory is they are trying to appeal to a wider audience of players, which is probably World of Warcraft.
Like, okay, the World of Warcraft
to end game gear completion.
The World of Warcraft comparisons are really getting annoying. It's not the same game at all. Just move on.
The next theory is they personally think this is the best for the game and its future, regardless of community feedback. And the last theory is they think Diablo 3 was a success based on sales of 30 million copies without trading. However, when Diablo 3 was released, everyone hated the game and it died. The game had 200 Twitch viewers for years. The game was complete.
I just want to say one thing. I never played Diablo 2 when it first came out. The players complain a lot about it. Or was it because the internet, like, back then a lot of people weren't on the internet as much, so like people weren't like complaining in forums? I mean, people complain all the time now, and like you gotta know that a game nowadays is never gonna be perfect when it releases. That's guaranteed. They're gonna improve the game. Diablo 3 improved a lot with time. Some people like better the old version. Some people like better the new version. But more people like better the new version. Give Diablo 4 time, and I'm sure it's gonna be good. I hope.
Completely lifeless, while Diablo 2 had 40,000 players online in 2016. And for some reason, Blizzard still seems to think that the game was a success. Diablo in the franchise is like the Beatles. It doesn't matter if the album or if the music or if the game is even good at all, it's going to sell millions of copies just because of the hype around the name. So let's talk about the constant restrictions of gameplay. Diablo 4 is advertised as an open world game. The world makes you feel restricted on the places you can go because there are barriers everywhere. The dungeons are usually one path.
Barriers? I think this is probably some beta stuff right here. There's no barriers right now anymore. There are some zones when you start off that are going to be a higher level than you, and it's the same thing in Diablo 2. I mean, you can't just go from Act 1 and be like, hey, I'm going to skip Act 1 and go straight to Act 2. No, you need to go through the game and you kind of need to level accordingly, or else you're gonna be under leveled. You're gonna have a hard time. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you could still be under leveled.
Pathway, and it literally makes you feel trapped in the world. Diablo 2 was 10 times more open world than this, and
10
I'm
times,
not sure
exactly.
why Blizzard
Wow.
has designed the world this way, when it was supposed to be open world. There are many aspects of the game that restrict you from where you really want to go and things you want to do. You can't go wherever you want because of the barriers in the open world, and you can't trade all the items.
There's none of that now,
and
I think.
aspects can only be applied to certain items. You constantly have to salvage, enchant.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because if aspects would be put onto a whole bunch of other items, like imagine if you could put full offensive aspects, it would be a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, it's
items,
a small thing.
Extract legendaries, etc. There's always something restricting you from progressing, when instead you should just be out in the world killing stuff, not crafting constantly in the main city like World of Warcraft.
Talking about crafting, this game, I find Diablo 4 really needs crafting. Like, we have so many materials in the game. Like, we have iron ore, we have leather, we have a bunch of stuff, but there's no crafting. There's like enchanting, but it's like, that is not crafting. That is literally changing one affix. I mean, come on. It's just one affix that you can change. Crafting would make things so much cooler. I really hope that the next season is going to be like a crafting season. It would make things so much better. I mean, we have white items. We have, like, no, they really, I think crafting would be awesome. But yeah, we'll have to see.
These features should be choices, not requirements. And this is where Diablo
They are choices. You don't have to craft.
Almost perfect, because there was crafting and there were ways to enchant your items and do other different types of crafting and enchanting abilities. It's just you didn't absolutely have to do it to be able to progress your character in the game.
It doesn't take long for you to extract a legendary aspect and throwing on another one.
When you're completing the Diablo 4 story and questing, you can skip the cutscenes. However, you still spend hours of time hitting your escape key to skip the cutscenes. Every side quest has the same boring scene. Also, every quest is a lot of walking and a lot of talking to NPCs. I don't know how many times I have to walk all the way across the map for so many quests, when I could just be out there killing.
There's a lot of, like, with the whole dungeon thing, right? Having to kill X amount of monsters. Backtracking is a bitch. No one likes to backtrack, especially in an ARPG. That's why I really think they should, like, tone things down a little bit, and players will be a lot happier.
Stuff. It feels like they are trying to make the game an open world type atmosphere similar to World of Warcraft, with a action RPG spin-off that has a ton of restrictions. Runewords are not completed for the release of the game. They were a feature Blizzard announced to try to get Diablo 2 players into Diablo 4.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice they did that.
Socketing an item with a jewel or a perfect gem. They are not runewords. You just get different effects based on the rune.
Yeah, this is not in the game.
Isn't completed, and I'm sure Blizzard will use this in an upcoming patch to gain hype. I don't think they understand the complex game mechanics for runewords, because this requires a lot of testing and knowledge to.
By the way, wouldn't runewords kind of be considered as crafting? Let me know what you think.
Be balanced properly. And most of the devs at Blizzard that work on Diablo games, I don't think they know anything about Diablo 2. And I also never see them ever playing the game. It just seems like they have a job, and working at Blizzard is really cool, so they just like to be at Blizzard for the clout and the hype.
I think a lot of people from Blizzard do play the game. It's just ridiculous to say. You have no proof. I know a lot of people say that, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure they do play the game.
One Blizzard employee actually play the game, so I assume they don't have much knowledge or passion Diablo game mechanics that come from the other games, such as Diablo 2. This is probably why they copy and paste Diablo 3, because they don't actually understand Diablo at all. This is why the skill tree is like Path of Exile, and the rest of the game is just like World of Warcraft with a spin-off.
The skill tree isn't, like, very basic and so simple to understand. I don't know how you can compare it to Path of Exile. Should they make it more complicated? Maybe, but I think adding crafting would be cool. But we'll have to see.
Off. It doesn't seem like PvP is going to be completed for the release. This is impossible to balance with the current version of the game because my chain lightning does more damage than my actual health. If Blizzard wanted, they could balance PvP and get the game on an esports level of popularity.
PvP season?
I just don't think they care enough
nice
for the game as much as they do World of Warcraft. I fear we won't see many major content patches because after 2 years they will make the majority.
Talking about him saying that Blizzard, whatever, likes Warcraft more, I wouldn't say that now. Yeah, I also, oh shoot, sorry. Go back to where we were. We were around there. Okay, let's say we were there. Yeah. Nowadays, I feel like WoW is the one that's missing some love. I was a pretty big WoW player too, still am. But yeah, I do think the attention right now is on Diablo, and they need to do a good job because if they fuck this up, they're gonna lose a lot of trust.
I fear we won't see many major content patches because after 2 years they will make the majority of the money that there is to make from Diablo 4. I don't see Blizzard making enough money off cosmetics.
He's not wrong because and I hate comparing games, but if you look at Path of Exile, which is a free game, there's been a lot more content pumped into there than Diablo 3. A lot more. Way more. And you know, with Diablo 4 the way it is now, I hope that it's going to be the same case. That it's going to be like content's going to be coming in. I mean, the season 1 was a little lame in my opinion, but it's just a start. They went with something safe. But seeing that there's a shop, and I know this is really like weird to say, but I'm happy that there's a shop and I'm happy that there's a season pass because that's going to like get them, it's going to force them to make more content for us. And if it's not good, people aren't going to play it. People are going to get mad. Because they're like, people are wasting their money and they're not going to like it. So I hope this is going to change Blizzard's perspective for this.
Cosmetics, battle passes for them to actually care for the game as much as they care for World of Warcraft. Maybe if the game was a subscription-based game, it's just over time they won't make enough money from the game anymore. So I don't really see them continuing to develop more features and more of the end game in the future. Also, there seems to be what I call a culture flip, or a...
This was, don't forget, this was, he made this video before the release of the game. This is pretty much beta stuff. So I'm pretty sure a lot of what he's saying here is going to change now. So
new age of Diablo players that actually like Diablo 3 and even Diablo 4 game mechanics. After the release of Diablo 3, everyone hated the game, even before it was released. Also, the game died while Diablo 2, as I said, had 40,000 players online. I will say I love Diablo 4, and so far it is a wonderful game. However, everything that made the franchise unique compared to other games has been dismissed for years. And this is why there's an outrage from Diablo 2 players. All we wanted was a new game that was similar to Diablo 2 and its core game mechanics, such as rune words and end.
And you're never going to get a game that's going to be like Diablo 2. Sorry to say. It's not going to happen because the general audience isn't there. I mean, if you want to get something close to it, I'd really recommend Path of Exile. I think it's really damn close, but you're not going to have another Diablo 2. It's never going to happen. I mean, to me, it's definitely not going to happen. I mean, when I was playing that game, I was a teenager. I have so much nostalgia, and the way you would see games at that age was completely different than it is now. Completely different. I've played so many games since then. And I'm sure he has too. Played different games. I hope he hasn't just played Diablo 2. But me personally, I used to collect PlayStation trophies. A lot. I have like 70 platinums on my PlayStation. So I played a lot of games, and it's not going to hit the same, but you need to take games as they are. And you know, like right now, Diablo 4, a lot of people are angry about it, but give it some time. It's going to catch up. It's going to be good, I'm sure. I hope so, because if they mess it up, then you just move on, okay? Don't let this destroy you. Just move on and go to the next game or do something else. If it messes up, that's Blizzard's problem, not yours, okay? You could give your feedback, you could say whatever you like, but don't let this affect you at all.
Game. It's surprising to me that this new age of Diablo players tell us to go play Diablo 2 if we like it so much, and tell us we're on some kind of nostalgia trip, when everyone hated Diablo 3 to begin with. So I guess it's just a new age.
It's not nostalgia, it's just, it kind of is and it's kind of not. It's hard to say if it's not nostalgia, in my opinion. I do think nostalgia has a lot to do with it. It's just because there wasn't that many games back at that time. And the thing is that your mind and perspective changes throughout the years. I played so many, like I said, I played so many other games that my perspective of video game has changed a lot.
Diablo.
All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll definitely talk a lot on this one. So let me know what you guys think of my opinions on his opinions. And not to give xtimus too much crap, I like his videos. Well, I used to like his videos a lot. He doesn't post as much now. But he used to post when not a lot of people were posting back in the day for Diablo 2. And yeah, his takes were usually pretty controversial, but it's okay. It's his own opinion. So there we go. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care.